And we are live, Smash Mouth Sports. I'm your host, as always, Preston Bailey, co-host Cam Vieira, and we are honored to have the national champion, Carl Tucker Jr. from the Alabama Crimson Tide. Carl, how are you doing, buddy?
I'm doing great, man. I'm happy to be here.
Has this been a whirlwind year? Now it's it's got to be amazing. You know, it's Super Bowl season coming around the corner for my Buccaneers. How was it like after you won that? Because obviously, you know, you're not a pro yet, not yet. It's in the grasp, right? You're almost there. Do you secretly have a team that you're like wanting that they pick you, or are you just kind of open to whoever takes you?
Yeah, I'm pretty open to whoever wants to take me. I remember being like in high school, I'd had a favorite team and everything, but like once I got to college, it kind of just went away. So whoever wants me will be my favorite team.
So who was your favorite team, or did you before you went to college?
So I was a big Pittsburgh Steelers fan.
Okay.
In middle school and high school, was a huge fan.
Okay. Now you're a tight end. For those that are unaware, I like to give detail. You're listed at 6'2", 248. Now we don't have to get too deep into your diet, like you're trying to train to fight Conor McGregor or Jake Paul or one of these wild events. In fact, that does give me an idea. I know you're not a fighter. I'm assuming. I don't know from what I didn't. But if something crazy happened, that would you ever fight a guy like a Jake Paul or one of the? Are you familiar with Jake Paul? He's YouTube. He's challenging every other month. It's like Conor McGregor and Floyd Mayweather, all these crazy guys. Would you ever do something like that, or you're too serious for something a stunt like that?
I feel like I could take Jake Paul. Conor McGregor, that's a whole nother story. I don't think I could take Conor McGregor at all. But Jake Paul, man, I might be able to. I've seen some videos of Jake Paul. He fights pretty well. He's not a bad fighter at all.
For a YouTube guy, he's pretty good. I mean, for YouTube, yeah, not too shabby. So, okay. So, no, we appreciate that. So, if you don't mind me asking about your weight, and the only reason I'm asking because I love the draft, I love the combine. Are you mentally prepared for the? Now, I've never been, but from what I understand from talking to many players, they poke and they prod you. Are you mentally prepared for all the circus that goes along with that?
I would say that I am. I've been asked tons of questions about like everything, really. I feel like I've worked hard enough to where I trust myself and I'm confident in my ability. So I'm ready for whatever gets thrown at me.
So 40 times, you feel good about that, bench press and all the workouts. You feel like you're on point there, right?
Yeah, I feel good about all that.
Cam, you had a couple questions as well. Let's get Cam in here.
Hey, Carl, how's it going? I just had a question. Like, when you get to the league, whatever team drafts you, like, is it important to you to be in another room with other great tight ends like Travis Kelce per se, or George Kittle or Kyle Rudolph, like share the shared experience with these guys who play the position so well? Would that be an extra blessing?
That would be an extra blessing because all I'd have to do is follow them around, really. Follow them around, mimic what they do, and do what they do because they're successful because of their hard work. And I know that anything they can do, I would be able to mimic and follow. And I feel like my success would rise as well. Because I've heard about, it might have been Kelce, I heard about just how he's like an extra coach in his film room. He's always taking extra notes. He's always asking questions and stuff like that. So I feel like if I'm able to be in a room with them, that'd be a huge deal to me.
Excellent. Now, you were at North Carolina. You redshirted your freshman year, if I understand that correctly.
Yep.
What was it? I mean, obviously, we know Alabama. Obviously, they're the national champion. They were the team to beat as always. Were you concerned at all joining the team as far as being coached by Nick Saban, just the urban legends? How was it being coached by Nick Saban and the whole coaching staff?
It was a blessing. It was awesome. It was a little nervous going in, but settling in, it was being with the guys it was really easy to kind of put myself in the team and kind of fit well. It was very easy to kind of just find my role and do my job. It's not. I know he seems all hard, like on the outside looking in, but he's really easy to be coached by. He just expects you to work hard, and as long as you do that, you're as good as rain.
Was there ever? Do you have an interesting story for us about Nick Saban where he just went buck wild, either on a player or as a coach? Is there any kind of juice you can give us that was just the regular outside world just doesn't see, either positive or negative, or just an interesting story? Would you say about Nick Saban?
Honestly, I don't really have a story. He's a pretty straightforward guy. I have no Nick Saban stories to tell. I wish I did. I honestly don't.
Yeah, I'm curious. Like, how was it teaming with Devontae Smith, Heisman Trophy winner at wide receiver, first time since Charles Woodson? I mean, that historically just does not happen. Were you kind of blown away? Now, you were as a tight end. You were in there. Were you separate, or were you in the receivers room with them? How did Nick Saban kind of run that?
So we did have offensive meetings together before we split up to position meetings. So there would be certain parts of the day that I was with him. But honestly, his success is not a surprise to me at all. That he was working. I saw him work extremely hard as soon as I got there. He's always catching extra balls after practice, being a great leader, always working hard, never complained. So seeing him receive the accolades he did at the end of the season wasn't a surprise. Now, the thing that just always just amazes me and just makes me shake my head, like every time I was on the field or just watching the play, let's say there was one time, it might have been against Texas A&M, it was like 3rd and 15, and we were backed up. And then Mac just throws a deep ball to Devontae Smith, and he's just wide open. And it's like they do that. We did that so much, and it's just like how, like, it just kind of just blows my mind as how often it happened every single game.
Now, I don't know if they've talked to you or the process, but if Nick Saban talks to you, but like do they kind of tell you where they think you're going to go, or is that where the agent kind of comes in? Like, who kind of like sits you down and says, we think you're going to go here? And I know a lot of times they jockey guys in position. Have they told you at all, fullback, H-back, tight end, or are you clearly a tight end?
So no, I'm going in the league as a fullback, H-back type.
Okay.
So I was told that by last year before I went to Bama that that's what they were looking at me as.
Okay.
And I would say my sophomore, junior year at Chapel Hill, I was really stubborn about that. I was like, oh, I'm a tight end. But seeing how the fullbacks play now and seeing how they're used, I feel like that's a perfect fit for me. I'm aggressive on the field. I feel like I'm fast enough and I can run great routes. I have good hands. I feel like that fullback H-back is a perfect spot for me. And I've settled in and accepted that that's who I am.
Perfect. Yeah. I mean, I know it can be hard, as an athlete, if you were a tight end or receiver, but when I think of a tight end, you think of, at least historically, you think of the Travis Kelce or Gronk and, the bigger, 6'5", 6'6", huge guys. You're what's interesting about you're almost the same size as Derrick Henry. Derrick Henry's about an inch taller, within the same range. Do you look at a guy like a Derrick Henry? Because I don't know that a lot of scouts are thinking, Carl could be the next Derrick Henry, but, I'm just starting to see, you can move around and the game is changing so much with the spread formation. I mean, you could be blocking one play, the lead back the next, splitting out wide. I mean, is that something that you really like get out a highlight reel? I'm like, look, I can be the next Derrick Henry and, go up, a higher draft pick. Is that something that you've thought about?
I've never thought about being the next Derrick Henry because he's a dog in his own right.
He's a whole nother show there. But as far as the size, now he went to Alabama. He was an all-world player. He's 6'3". He's about 245, 248. And you're right about 6'2", 248, right in that range. I just thought that's something that's interesting. Have they kind of encouraged you, or have you kind of taken upon yourself to either bulk up or lean down, or you feel comfortable kind of where you're at?
I feel comfortable where I'm at right now. I like staying in like the 240, 245 range. What I'm working on now is kind of taking a lot of the fat out of that 245, 248,
sure,
putting muscle in. Because that's what I've been working on this past year and a half. That's really just been my only issue in terms of weight, just getting all that excess weight out and just replacing it with good weight.
Perfect. Cam, you had another question you were wanted to ask Carl?
Yeah, just a question, Carl. What tight ends inspired you to play the game? I mean, I saw you grew up in North Carolina, so I was going to ask if it was Greg Olsen who inspired you with the Panthers, but then you said you were a Steelers fan. So What tight ends really do you look at as like a role model who you model your game after?
So I was in high school. I played receiver in high school. I didn't really play tight end until I got to Chapel Hill. So I really, once I started looking at the tight end position, I started looking at Delanie Walker and Aaron Hernandez. And because they're around, 6'2", 6'3", shorter kind of tight ends. But they could move really well in the box. So I tried to really more Delanie Walker, tried to emulate what he was doing and watched him a lot and see how he would get open. A little bit of Jason Witten too, because Jason Witten's on the slower side, but he would still always find really, really nice ways to get open with his route running and how he would trick the defender into thinking he was going a certain way. So I would say really, Delanie Walker and Jason Witten would be the big two for me.
Cool. Those are great comparables. Really, one of my last questions is, we talked a little bit about the room. How close are you with these guys, with Devontae and Jalen and also Mac Jones? Like, how close are you guys? I mean, obviously this is the year of Corona. It's not something I really want to get into, but like, obviously it's going to be harder to go out to dinner with these guys. But how close of a room was that? Was everybody more individualized, just depending on first round, second round caliber, or how well was the team as a group, as kind of an individual group?
So the first round, second round thing didn't really play a part in the relationship with the teammates. I had a pretty good relationship with all of them, but not as it wasn't really strong, only because I was there for 6 months.
Sure.
So it wasn't as strong as it could have been if I would have stayed, if I would have came earlier, 3-4 years or whatnot. But they were still really easy to talk to, really easy to get along with. There was really no big heads on the offense. Everybody got along and everybody was just cool with each other.
Perfect. Yeah, I was just thinking, last thing, it'd be great. We could get all you guys on, right before the draft. We get the whole receiving group, the whole tight end group, get everybody on the screen at one time. We can get 11 guys on at a time. So let's look. Awesome. Let's look. That would be great. Just boom, 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 like a team, and Mac Jones, could just kind of spread the ball out. But yeah, so no, we appreciate you taking the time, Carl. We know you had a great year, national champion. We definitely appreciate you coming on. We just want to thank you for giving us your time.
Absolutely. Thank you guys for having me. This was awesome.
Thanks Carl.
Thanks again, Carl. Have a great night.
Have a good one.
Thank you guys.
Alrighty.